Hey guys and gals, it is Rick with Flip with Rick, and in today's video, I'm going to share with you the single greatest lesson I learned from the 2008 real estate recession and the economy recession. And the biggest thing I took away from it is I should have done more creative financing deals. They were literally thrown at me left and right. And I told you in the beginning, I didn't know how to do them, and B, I was scared to death of them. This is when people would say, listen, Rick, if you could just take over my payments, and some people didn't even ask for money, some for as little as $1,000. You took over the payment, and what I did is I did take them over, and most of them I kept 2 to 3 years, and then when the economy got better, I sold them when they came back, and I made a lot of money doing it. But I'm going to teach you a lesson right now. That guy, look back on it, it just blows my mind. If I just held on to those properties that cost me none of my own capital, and I already made a profit from them from day one, it would have 10x'd my return. So let me give you an example. I have this framed. It's actually was in my office. I brought it here. I was written up in the paper. I don't know if you guys can see that. I'll try to. And basically, I purchased a 10,000 square foot waterfront home here in Florida, South Florida. And it was actually a dream home. I actually considered moving into it, but it was a historic home and it was old. And I bought it through a short sale because I know how to do short sales real well. Well, it had a $2 million mortgage. $2 million mortgage. Now, I got this lead from a realtor. All the realtor wanted to do is make sure they got paid on their commissions. Not a problem. We went actually through and did it. And this is actually bringing back. This was in 2011. I bought it in early 2011. The market was really, really, really down. So I bought it for $315,000. I almost had a heart attack because I had to raise the money privately. And I wasn't as savvy as I am now, and I brought in a partner. And this thing, the house was a pain in the butt. It was actually historic. It had a lot of maintenance work, and we actually had 6 different set of tenants in there to cover the cash flow. The really cool thing is it had a 250-foot dock on a waterway that led to the ocean. You had a porpoise off there. I put my stone crab traps out off of there. You could fish for sharks, snook, redfish, whatever you want. And I said to myself, man, I should keep this property forever. So those of you that have access to certain types of properties, if they're on a river, they're on a big lake, or they have ocean accesses, those are once in a lifetime buys, and you should find a way to try to own those homes forever because they will pay you phenomenally. They rarely go down in the value. Well, this was the one time in 100-year chance. So I bought the house. I wound up keeping it for 16 months. Me and my partner, which was the private equity part of it, he needed cash out of the deal. And we had a big tax bill coming up on it. We had a septic problem. We had about $60,000, $70,000 of pending bills. So we just decided we listed it with a realtor, told us, we get you big dollars for it, didn't work out. Lo and behold, we sold it at an auction to get rid of it. Now, the really cool part is we made in excess of $125,000 on the deal. A lot of money, right? Oh, Rick, you killed it. I thought so. Okay, now I had to pay a portion of that to my money equity partner. I had to pay the auctioneer. And this guy from California, he came up and we talked after it. And he goes, I can't believe you're selling it for this cheap. So it wound up selling in the mid-4s. And I just said, he thought he got a deal of a lifetime. Now, he still had to pay a 10% premium to the auctioneer and all the closing costs. But I'm looking at my quote in the paper here. Long story short, the property was sold actually multiple times, and it is sold for in excess of $1.2 million, and probably is in the high ones, if not low $2 million mark. Keep in mind, I bought the property for $315,000. Oh my God, I can't believe I freaking sold it. What I did is I didn't have the long-term vision. I was so busy flipping properties back then. This was my golden goose. This was the property, and it was cash flowing. We had some problems with it. It was too much for me at the time to handle, and it was creating stress on me managing the deal. When you got to lay out $50,000, $60,000 for this and that, you just say, hey, man, I'm going to call it a day. So what I'm telling you is, if you find that golden goose property, especially through any type of creative financing option, hold it, because the demand will only go up. If inflation ever comes back, which is real estate's best friend because it's what causes prices to get like jacked up, these prices only go up. The house was over 100 years old. So I let the fear of the repairs to the house overtake me. The tenants were a pain in my butt. But man, so here I am, $100,000 plus profit. And at that time, it was a lot of money because nothing was moving. And here I am looking at a $2 million property, and I gave it away for $400,000. And it was cash flowing to cover the cost. It was barely just covering the cost, but that was the worst time ever. So if I could go back in time in 2011, I would have forced myself to keep that property and do whatever I had to. Honestly, even if I had to live in it, I probably would have rethought it, because I would have built over $1 million in equity really within 5 years. That's all it took. At 5 years, $1 million. So let's see, that's $200,000 a year. There's not many jobs or careers that even pay for that. And that's for just holding the property and doing nothing else. So God only knows what it's worth today. I actually should go check it out. But that's my tip. So if you get creative financing, I had creative financing deals where I would take over a mortgage. So I bought a house for $65,000. Here's the other one. I gave them $3,000 up front. I took over their mortgage payment, which is only $600. And I basically did a wraparound mortgage. So we took their existing financing. I sold it to them for $109,000. And I was making $500 a month. And then 3 years later, they cashed me out. And then I made another, and by the way, they gave me $10,000 up front. So I walked away with $7,000. I was making $500 a month. So that was another $12,000 or $15,000 from the cash flow. I didn't have any of the management aspects of the property. And then when they cashed me out, they owed me, I believe, it was like 30, 35 grand. It was all said and done. There was a realtor involved. So I made money 3 ways, but the problem, I was so happy at the end, but guess what? I got really sad because the cash flow ended and I had to go back to work being a wholesaler. Imagine if I kept 10 of those. It would have been phenomenal. They would have paid me for the next. You can, if you do creative financing right, you can take over someone's payment, or you can do a lease option. There's too many strategies to explain in this video. You can cash flow forever. What happens is once you build X amount up, and all you need is 5 or 10 of them, then you start getting a very positive cash flow every month, and you don't need to flip those properties. You're actually doing the creative passive income, and that money's coming in. The key is don't become the traditional landlord tenant, because those are the people I buy the most properties from, because it will burn you out. I used to own 26 properties myself. I went through 2 massive hurricanes, and I didn't plan for it accordingly. And I learned I never want to manage my own properties, especially in the single family home market. It rarely works out well. And even if you get all the way through the end of it, I see people they never really enjoy it. So if I was going to do that all over again, if you could get a great deal on a small apartment complex, it's better to have everything under one roof and have a management company manage it. And it's just easier. You can play the numbers. Remember, on a single family home, when your tenant moves out, you have 0% occupancy. So if you had, say, 10 units and one moves out, you have 90% occupancy instead of, which is 10% vacancy. So guys, the most amount of money you'll ever make in real estate is holding and keeping the property. The key is if you can utilize creative financing, or if you can find your golden goose property, like crazy thing, maybe even like a small commercial one that has a tenant in there that's been there maybe 20 years, and paid every time and consistently going up, and they're never going to leave it, and maybe you met with the owner, they plan on leaving it with their kids, and they'll give you a creative financing deal, that's the one you want to take over. It eliminates the typical landlord-tenant relationship, which chokes out 90% of the landlords out there. And then the creative financing, if you can get past that first 5 or 10 deal barrier, then you'll see the positive residual cash flow coming in every month without the headaches of being a traditional landlord. And then you never ever have to sell a property, and guess what? Your net worth goes up every year for the rest of your life. And that was my biggest mistake. I tried to be a landlord, didn't work out. I found creative financing, I just didn't hold them on long enough. So I was always taught to sell them within 3 to 5 years. I will never ever do that again. I'm happy giving somebody like a 30-year note on one of my creative financing deals because I'm making money for the rest of my life. So that's my tip with you guys. Go out, get your creative financing, and keep them. You make money the day you buy it, you make residual income every month, and you make money when it finally cashes out. But the idea is if you write a 20, 30, or 40-year note, it's just more money you're going to make every month. Once you get 5 or 10 of them, then you have positive cash flow, more than cover your expenses. And here's the really cool part is you can still flip properties. When I get really trash properties that are a piece of junk and it requires 30, 50, or 100 grand of capital, that property just needs to be flipped. I don't want to waste my time. I don't want to do construction. And the last thing I want to do is manage a crew to fix that up and tie up all my capital and make no money on it. Let me sell it to an investor or a landlord that wants to do all that. And then when I find that nice, beautiful, perfect property and somebody just needs to get it sold and they can't take the cash offer and no one's helped them out yet, I'm going to offer them a creative solution that will somewhat protect their equity, save their equity, get the deal done fast, and will create a win-win situation where I can make money in 3 different positions and I don't have to flip properties just to pay my bills. So walk away with this tip. Man, did I learn a lot in 2008. If you have the ability to do that creative financing, take it up. If you get that Golden Goose property, take it up. Do not become a landlord. I'm telling you, you will fail as a landlord, or it's going to emotionally drain you because it requires so much management between you and even a management company. There's better ways to make money in this business. So that's my tip. This is Flip with Rick. Learn from my mistakes back from 2008. Keep in mind, I've been doing this for 16 years and I've just about seen everything that can happen in a real estate market and I've experienced. So please learn from my mistakes and go out and be the best real estate investor you can. Thanks again, guys.